You're watching Elevate with Emily. Hi, I'm Emily Burnham, a marriage and family therapist intern. I'm currently working at Clear Counseling in Chandler, Arizona. If you couldn't tell by my little logo here, I love to grow. I love to become better each and every day, to find ways to improve, to grow, to become a healthier, safer person for myself, for everyone around me. That's my goal and my passion in life, and I hope to take you on this journey with me, to be able to talk about concerns and topics that are coming up in sessions with clients and things that are going on in the world, and just discussing the impact it has on us as individuals, on our families, and also within our community. That brings me to the topic I want to talk about today. And sorry in advance, all of you Hallmark lovers, but I have a little bit of beef with Hallmark. Not just Hallmark, but in general, all media that has romantic relationships. How it portrays those romantic relationships is so unhealthy. So, backing up just a little bit, I wrote a paper when I was in college. It was this giant 20+ page research paper that took me 4 months to write, and I actually ended up getting it published in BYU's undergraduate journal. And I will put a link in the box below if you want to go ahead and read that article that I wrote. It's, super fun, super full of researchy words. But essentially, I titled it First Fake Crush, or First Fictional Crust. Wow, yes, the crust of a sandwich. Your first fake crush. The parasocial romantic attachments, the impact that has on, dude, it's bad I can't even remember the title of my research paper, but go look it up yourself. I'm sure I'm going to remember right after this video and then feel super not dumb because I'm nice to myself. But that being said, it's essentially this big word, parasocial romantic attachment, essentially means a fictional crush that you have on a character, whether it is a movie star, celebrity, or an actor in a movie, or even a character in a book that you're reading, just any form of media. If you start to develop a crush on them, that's a parasocial romantic attachment. You hear this a lot by all of the Mr. Darcy fans, right? Everyone's like, I need my own Mr. Darcy, or I love Mr. Darcy, I want to marry him, or the whole Edward Jacob debacle that went down a few years ago. Sorry if you're not Twilight fans, but you start to develop these crushes on these fictional characters, and that can actually lead to a lot of harmful, detrimental effects that I talk about in my research paper. But just to give you a brief overview, essentially, at the age of puberty, 13, 12, 14, who knows, it's different for everyone, but you start to develop hormonally, chemically, all of these, and sexually, all of these feelings can start to arise, and it's a new experience that you're going through. And it can be scary for a lot of people, especially if their parents never adequately explained what the heck puberty is, or what happens to your body and your brain when you're going through it, or even if your parents try to explain it. Sometimes teens can feel awkward, or parents can feel awkward. Anyways, let's just say that there's a lot of information that is not shared that should be shared, or misinformation that is shared. And essentially, those age girls, or even in boys, they turn to media as their source of information. What romantic relationships look like, feel like. They essentially want to escape into this movie or this book or video game even, to experience real life without actually having to experience it in real life. And so you vicariously live that experience through another person. And so if your first encounter of what romance means and is like and feels like and looks like is from media, then yikes. And unfortunately, media portrays a lot of unhealthy relationships. It portrays a lot of codependency, or a lot of lack of boundaries, or moving too fast physically before you are emotionally or mentally ready for the consequences. It can also portray this message of there's always someone else out there that's better, which can decrease the commitment that you have in a relationship, right? If you can read about this fictional character who's so much better than your real life partner, then you start to compare and start to say, oh, I need to marry someone like Mr. Darcy or like Edward, who's much more attuned to my emotional needs or makes me feel a certain way. And so you start to lose your sense of commitment to that person. And essentially you could cheat on your spouse with a fictional person, emotionally. And that being said, it can decrease commitment in relationships. It can promote risky sexual behaviors, right? Because you're reading this book for entertainment and maybe they have sex scenes in there and it doesn't teach you about safe sex or I don't know, just has things going on in there that aren't healthy or even realistic, and you don't know better, and you're like, oh, this is how it is, and so then you try to implement or act on those things, and not having all the information, you can get STDs, or just like if you had known later on, then you wouldn't have wanted to have done it. Long story short, be mindful of how movies are making you feel. One important aspect is a lot of books I read as a teenager, they're written by women for women. And women and men are different. They just are. They experience love and attachment differently. They have different ways of bonding with each other, with babies. A woman can write a man to be however she wants him to be. And that may not be realistic. That may not accurately represent men. And so when you're reading all these floods of books by all these female authors, and you start to get this idea of like this ideal romantic partner, he's not real. Every single individual has weaknesses. And so when you're writing about this perfect person in a story, it's simply not real. It's simply not accurate. Every person, no matter how amazing they are, has their bad days. I have my bad days. I have my really great days, right? We all do. And so when you're reading about some fictional character who never has a bad day, who's perfect in all of these ways, you're never going to find that person in real life. They don't exist. And so when you base all of your romantic ideologies off of some fictional characters in a book or a movie you watch, you're being set up for disappointment, because you're never going to find that person. And so that can warp how you see people, how you interact with people, how you choose your partner. So there are all of these factors that go on that are perpetuated by media if you don't know differently. So let's spread the awareness. You can go watch all the Hallmark movies you want if you can recognize that they're not real, right? If you can recognize that that really attractive male or female figure in there that always has their makeup done or is always understanding and perfect, that's not real. That's not how real life works. That real life is full of people making mistakes, people having bad days, but working to improve, to repent, to change, to seek forgiveness, to be better. But they will have days where they're sad or depressed or angry, or they don't find anyone or anything attractive, right? In books, it's like this whirlwind romance that happens, and the person, like, you have instant chemistry and you're constantly attracted to each other. That's not everyone's experience, right? Sometimes attraction takes time to grow. Sometimes you're attracted to their personality before you're attracted to them physically. It works so differently in every individual. And so as you're willing to explore that, talk about that with your kids, talk about, hey, just so you know, this is how you and your dad, or me and your dad, I don't know, but this is how your parents met. This is how we fell in love, and we've navigated these difficult challenges. It wasn't perfect like the movies portray. In fact, I don't know of a single relationship that is. You can go ahead and read that, but just know that's not going to be your experience in real life. I am passionate about people understanding what is real, because we are living in a world where we're flooded with so much information from the news, from movies, TV, commercials, books, teachers at school, students at school, coworkers, bosses, neighbors. We're just flooded with so much information, advertisements, you name it. And it can sometimes warp our reality. It can warp our expectations of how things should be or how things are. And we can get caught up and lost in that. And so it's always good to do a reality check, to take a moment to pause, to reflect where you're at, what messages you're hearing, what you really believe, and to see if maybe you've adopted some of these unrealistic or unhealthy expectations or mindsets, and then to change them, to confront them and start to explore alternative ones that are not only real and authentic and healthier, but I would argue more romantic, because real life is hard, which means real love is hard. And the more you have to fight for it and sacrifice for it shows just how dedicated you are, how much you are willing to fight for it. And that includes fighting against all of these unrealistic and false messages that you're hearing. That's powerful, right? That's more powerful than this easy, shallow love that happens really quick and just stays forever. That's not reality, but reality is worth it. Real life is worth it. I guarantee that.